Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video I'm doing my May reading wrap-up. And yes, this is a little late this month, and that is because I've already shot this video and things went wrong, and so I'm having to reshoot, and I was not motivated to do it very quickly. So late wrap-up for May. But I read 4 books in May, and jumping right in, the first one that I read was the final book in the Twilight series, Breaking Dawn by Stephenie Meyer, which I gotta say, this one is my favorite one in the series, which might be controversial because a lot of crazy stuff happens in this one, and it's got kind of an anticlimactic ending, but I actually really like the ending. I would way rather just have a bunch of talking and kind of the clever ways that they try to outmaneuver each other with what they're saying than having a big final battle. I do think the movie found a creative way of getting to have a final battle since the book didn't provide one. But yeah, like I said, a lot of crazy shit happens in this book, and I'm here for it. I love it. And I love getting to see all of these vampires from all over the place and all of their different special abilities. And I also really surprisingly like the section of the book that's from Jacob's perspective. I had forgotten that I like that part of the book. Going into it, I was like, oh, Jacob's perspective, this is gonna be terrible. Especially because it's a pretty big section of the book. But I actually really liked it a lot. I thought him leaving the pack and the power dynamics of that was so interesting. I thought his and Leah's relationship was so interesting. I think it would have been way better if he had just actually gone off with her and not imprinted on an infant. But clearly Stephenie wanted a very happy ending in which everyone got to stay together and be friends, and that was her weird way of figuring out how to do that. But it's so creepy. The creepiest part for me was when he gives Renesmee a promise ring, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things is probably not actually the creepiest part of it, but for me that was. I also find a lot of the dynamics between vampires to be very questionable. So many vampires seem to own another vampire, practically. Whether that be romantic partners or just the Egyptian coven where Amun has made Benjamin into a vampire because he knew that he was gonna have really cool vampire powers, and so it's he thinks he owns him because of that. So I was really happy when Ben stood up for himself and was like, no, in fact you don't own me. But yeah, all the creepy stuff aside, this was a fun one. I do think Bella being a vampire was too easy. There was plenty other interesting stuff going on and plenty of other conflict that I can see why it was easier to just be oh, and Bella's really good at being a vampire and can interact with humans just fine. But yeah, that was just too easy. Even if it was technically a twist, because we've been built up to be being a vampire newborn is so hard, but oh look, Bella's really good at it. Twist. So I don't know. I'm fine with it, but also it's definitely just too easy. It feels very much like main character syndrome, where sometimes main characters are just good at things for no reason. Another thing that bugged me was when everyone thought that Alice abandoned them for, again, no reason. Nowhere in her letter does it say that she is never gonna come back or anything like that. So where is the trust in Alice? She deserved more. She's awesome. And then yeah, like I said, the kind of anticlimactic ending where there doesn't end up being a big battle, I'm totally fine with. I thought it was super interesting. And then everything wrapping up happy is whatever, it's fine. But yeah, this is my favorite one because there's so much wild stuff happening. And I am happy to have reread this series. It was a fun time. I'm gonna hold on to them. So then I read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, which was kind of a bonus read. I had just watched the movie with Michael B. Jordan, and I had been interested in the book for years. It's a book that loves books. It's a dystopian. I love dystopians. And so me watching the movie, I finally was I'm gonna go out and buy it and read it right away, spur of the moment. And it was certainly interesting. I feel like it has kind of mixed messages, and so I didn't quite know how I felt about it. There are points where you can definitely tell it was written in the 50s. It's quite different from the movie. Some things in the movie I liked better the movie was just kind of more entertaining, but there were some changes that the movie made that I did not like at all. But yeah, like for the first half of the movie, I was like, oh, this is really good and entertaining, like probably 4 stars. And then the other half of the movie got really bad. And then it got good again for like a couple minutes, and then the ending was terrible. So it was a real roller coaster with the movie. Whereas the book was just steadily kind of like, meh. But yeah, one thing I didn't like that the movie changed was, so in the book, the way that they are like saving books is that people are memorizing books and they are kind of becoming the books themselves, which I thought was a really cool concept. And in the movie it takes it one step further and like is putting books into DNA, which I don't know, it just was too much. But one over the top thing in the book was this mechanical dog that is like chasing people down through their DNA, and it was just weird. But yeah, overall, glad to have finally read it to know what it actually is, rather than just, obviously everyone knows it's a book about firefighters that burn books instead of putting out fires. But it was interesting to actually read the book. Kind of reminded me of one of my favorite books of all time, The Last Book of the Universe by Rodman Philbrick, which pretty clearly was probably at least in part inspired by Fahrenheit 451. So that was also added an extra layer of interest for me personally. But yeah, kind of, I don't know, I would say your typical older dystopian, which is not my favorite kind of dystopian. So yeah, interesting to have finally read it, but at the same time, mixed feelings. So then after that, I read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, which I saw the movie of this a few years ago, and then I saw the book in like a free little library, and I enjoyed the movie, so I figured, why not? I'll pick up the book. And it is so well written. It's immediately very gripping. It's got really great character work, especially the main character, Rachel. All of the characters are very complex. None of them are particularly likable, so if you need to have a character that is likable in a book, this one might not be the one for you, because truly everyone here is complicated, to say the least. And no one is completely innocent. The ladies aren't, the guys certainly aren't. But it is interesting the ways in which all of the ladies are being at least a little bit gaslit. So yeah, I personally really enjoyed the writing style. It was engaging throughout. And then the last book that I read in May was Dear Me, A Letter to My 16-Year-Old Self, which is basically just a bunch of celebrities' letters to their 16-year-old selves, which I think I got this for like a graduation present. So it makes a good graduation present because all the letters are meant to be like kind of inspiring and like motivating and all that. So it was fun to read again with a little more distance between my age now and the age of 16. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I got this for a graduation present, so the first time I read it I was pretty close to being 16. So yeah, this time around with a little more distance, I actually wrote a letter, because it has space at the back where you can write your own letter. So who knows, maybe I'll read it again in another 10 years and write another letter. But at the age of 18 I was like, I don't know what I would say to me 2 years ago. That's very recent. So yeah, these are the 4 books that I read in May. Let me know down below what you read in May, and we'll be having the June wrap up soon since this video is so late. I hope you enjoyed watching. Remember, words matter.